First reading today talks about King Solomon. In his day, he was not only king, but the equivalent of our Supreme Court. Whatever he said was the law. And while more is said about him than in Scripture than any other king except his father, King David, there are many parts of his life that remain unclear. It's said that he was married to one of Pharaoh's daughters. But then they say he had 699 other wives as well. Very prolific author. It's said that he wrote over 3,000 psalms and over 1,000 songs. Much of the book of wisdom and the book of Proverbs are attributed to him, but his direct authorship of those books is not undisputed. But it was his wisdom that brought him fame and a place in history. And what we hear today is Solomon's prayer at the start of his kingship. He asks for an understanding, or in some translations, a listening heart. This understanding heart that could judge between right from wrong. God grants him his wish, and Solomon distinguishes himself over a long career as king and chief judge of his people. We even have in English a phrase, it was a Solomonic decision. It was a wise decision. As we hear about Solomon today, perhaps we can spend a moment and pray that God gives us an understanding or listening heart that helps us to judge what is right from wrong. And not only to judge the right and wrong, but to choose the right. There's a story about an actor by the name of Jed Harris, who was convinced that he was losing his hearing. So he went to a specialist, and the specialist had an old-fashioned watch that would go tick-tock, tick-tock. And he said to Mr. Harris, "Can you hear that?" He said, "Yeah, I can hear that." So then the specialist moved farther away and said, "Can you hear that?" "Yeah, I can hear that." Finally, he went way to the other side of the room and said, "Can you still hear it?" And Harris said, "Yeah, I can still hear it." So the doctor said, "Mr. Harris, there's nothing wrong with your hearing. The trouble is, you don't listen." Is that what we're like? Do we hear things but don't really listen? We might talk to others who are in pain, physical or psychological or spiritual, but we don't really listen and feel their pain. We may hear of the needs of others, but we don't really listen and try to do something to respond to their needs. We might hear about social injustice issues, but maybe we don't really listen and work to change the system to make it more just. Like Solomon of old, let's ask God this afternoon to give us a listening heart. All of us have to make decisions, whether we're 9 or 90. Sometimes decisions about home or school or business or relationships. Some are kind of everyday decisions. Others are more life-altering. As we gather at the table today, let's ask God to help us make the right decision. Decisions that reflect our commitment to Christ and the church. Let our prayer be Solomon's prayer. "Oh God, give me an understanding heart."